when their behaviour became obnoxious, self-serving, and rankly hypocritical.
But oh my God, the idea there's any comparison between Diana, who was the biggest star in the world.
The storm that followed did not settle, it swelled. What began as a single unearthed clip became a cascading landslide of speculation, reaction, and unfiltered digital chaos. People were no longer simply watching the drama unfold, they were participating in it, fueling it, accelerating its velocity with every new theory and every fresh piece of footage that Piers dangled like bait in front of a world starving for royal controversy. And as the internet spiraled deeper into the frenzy, one thing became unmistakably clear. This was no longer about a single buried interview. This was about power, control, narrative, and a long-running war between Meghan Markle and the media juggernaut who had never forgiven her for what he saw as a personal betrayal. Every new angle amplified the tension, and every silence from the palace sharpened the stakes. Behind the manic swirl of headlines and reaction videos, an even more intense battle was being fought privately. Meghan had built her public identity carefully over the years, shaping it through strategic interviews, emotional storytelling, and a precise balance of vulnerability and defiance. But now that scaffolding felt unstable, each new detail from the lost tapes chipped at the edges of her brand, threatening to distort the image she had crafted. Her team scrambled to plug leaks, contain narratives, and stop journalists from circling the people who had once been close to her. But the problem was that this wasn't an isolated story anyone could smother. It was a wildfire that had already found the oxygen it needed. And Meghan knew that unless she regained control immediately, her silence would be interpreted as guilt, her defensiveness as fear, and her counterattacks as confirmation. Meanwhile, the public devoured every second of this spectacle. They weren't satisfied with theories or whispers. They wanted names, motivations, timelines. They wanted to know who had been sitting across from Piers in that dimly lit room. They wanted to understand the relationship, the history, the betrayal. And as voice analysts and digital detectives dug deeper, the unraveling grew more aggressive. Every old interview Meghan had ever done resurfaced. Every friend she once mentioned became a suspect. Every staff member who had ever resigned during her royal tenure was suddenly thrust back into the spotlight. It became a global detective game, and the truth seemed to inch closer with each passing hour. For Harry, caught in the crossfire, the tension grew heavier. Cameras caught him at a charity event, smiling stiffly, body tense, jaw tight. People read into every blink, every shift, every forced grin. The optics suggested a man trapped between loyalty and exhaustion. And in the unforgiving lens of public opinion, appearance often mattered more than fact. The visual narrative shaped itself. A prince who had long fled a gilded cage only to find himself in a different one built not by a monarchy but by modern media, celebrity pressures, and the weight of a story that refused to die. Inside the palace, the silence remained the biggest message of all. They neither condemned the leak nor defended Meghan. They didn't dispute the claims, nor attempt to redirect the conversation. It was a stark contrast to their usual playbook, where carefully placed sources often intervened to stabilize the narrative. Their silence now felt deliberate, calculated, almost strategic. And that scared Meghan's team more than anything Piers could ever release. Because if the palace was choosing not to intervene, it meant they saw no value in protecting her. Or worse, they saw value in letting the chaos burn. As for Piers, he basked in the chaos like a man who had been waiting years for this exact moment. Every broadcast felt more theatrical than the last. His teasing grew bolder, more taunting, more pointed. He spoke with the confidence of someone holding cards no one else could see, and the internet sensed it. People speculated wildly about what clips he would release next. Was there footage of Meghan discussing her entry into the royal family? Her early interactions with palace officials? Her expectations of fame and influence? Every possibility raised the temperature online, pushing conversations into overdrive. And the insider whose voice had triggered this avalanche had suddenly become the most sought-after figure on the internet. Reporters dug into their career, trying to trace their proximity to Meghan. Former colleagues were contacted, old emails resurfaced, forgotten photographs were scrutinized. The realization that someone from Meghan's early image-building phase had stepped forward felt like a seismic betrayal. If the tapes had come from that era, then the claims weren't based on hindsight or bitterness. They were based on observation, memory, authenticity. and that made the implications heavier. But the chaos wasn't limited to Meghan's world. The leak had disrupted broader royal dynamics. Every commentator with a platform weighed in. Some argued this was proof Meghan had always viewed the monarchy as a stepping stone. Others claimed the tapes were being weaponized to discredit her and silence her advocacy. Still others believed Piers had been sitting on this footage for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The debate became a cultural battleground, with people analyzing motives on every side and refusing to accept any explanation at face value. As the narrative spiraled, Meghan's team began preparing for an emergency statement. Not the usual polished message, but something more forceful, more protective, more urgent. But crafting such a statement was a minefield. Too emotional and it would seem desperate. Too dismissive and it would seem strategic. Too vague and it would fuel more speculation. Every possible response carried risk. And the clock was ticking, because Piers had already promised more audio, more context, more truth. Or at least his version of it. When night fell, the world stayed awake. Phones were charged. Feeds refreshed endlessly. Everyone waited for the next drop, the next clip, the next spark. This wasn't just a royal scandal anymore. It had become a global event, pulsing through timelines, dominating conversations, and reshaping public perception in real time. And as Piers prepared his next broadcast, Meghan braced for impact. Because the truth was unavoidable now. The first two clips hadn't been designed to destroy her. They had been designed to warn her. The real damage was still coming. And when it landed, it would change everything. If you've made it this far and want to stay locked into every twist, turn, and revelation coming next, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. What do you think is on those remaining tapes? Who do you think the insider really is? And do you believe Meghan's narrative can survive the next drop? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.